I mean, it is low-key wild. I mean, it's trite to say, but it is low-key wild to think back when I was a kid and there were like no skyscrapers around here.
Yeah.
And now we record in one.
Yeah, the top of one. We actually record at the top of
this is actually a radio show that gets put onto the podcast.
We can see Brooklyn Tech's little radio tower.
Yeah, we broadcast from that AM radio tower. Yeah. 202 AM. W202.
I was telling Cork, so we had a softball game that was canceled, but so I hitched a ride over to the softball game, and with one of the old Brooklyn guys at the office, and we get in his car and he turns on the car, and I don't know what AM sports radio it was, but immediately first caller in, he's like, yeah, thanks, Aaron Judge, great player, obviously, but at the beginning of the season when he took a knee during the anthem, like I don't want to get political, but I don't know. I don't think the team really has responded well to that, and they've been off ever since. Anyway, I think that's why Aaron Judge isn't doing so great. And I was like, this is really the first thing that we're gonna fucking hear. Thankfully, no one talked about it.
I mean, I have WFA on. Not I personally put it on, but WFA on is on in my office pretty often, and it is wild how stereotypical it is, pretty wall to wall.
It felt like a GTA radio bit.
Yeah, you only need a few seconds to get your bearings.
See, I think I know those are the same listeners as us, so I'm like looking to our fan base. Why are you guys not stepping up and giving us some of these takes? Because we could really use them.
We're shitting on WFN right now because the negotiations fell apart for them to bring us on.
Yeah, we're really
just another season. Yeah,
yeah. So
we're gonna get brought into a mega merger between. Actually, the EDSS Empire was gonna acquire John Boy Radio and WFAN, but then our numbers are too good. They're too
the antitrust laws had to come into play.
So instead, we're doing Fenty ads for the next season.
Yeah, well, you do what you can.
That was another bit. Yeah, a guy went off for 15 minutes on this radio talking about how Fenty overdoses are killing everyone. Everyone was very confused.
Like the Rihanna Fenty line.
Say, what's the thing with the fucking Fenty? I went into my daughter's bedroom the other day, was digging around, and I see a fucking fentanyl and lipstick nowadays. Can you believe this? I almost died.
Just from touching the
lipstick.
Just
touching, yeah. They're trying to kiss boys with this stuff now. Watch out. All right, we're gonna stop there.
That was a little too close.
We're gonna stop there. All right.
What number?
It's episode 251.
Wow.
Let's just roll into it. We got a game. It's episode 251 of 202. We got a game against Columbus last week. We have two rumors of departures. CCJ. That wasn't confirmed, was it?
No, that's confirmed. That's just donezo.
It's done?
Well, it's not
gone?
confirmed, like,
Is
officially. It hasn't been announced. It's just been confirmed by, like, journalists.
Okay,
yeah. There hasn't been press releases.
It's been done, and he said his goodbyes.
Or it hasn't been a thing where Toulouse... Or has it been like the Kaku thing where Toulouse put out a statement that
I don't even think
they're signing him, and then
statement.
MLS is just kind of dicking around in the meantime?
No, yeah, not to my knowledge. But maybe that will be the case by the time people listen. And then
has happened.
It was pretty definitive that CCJ is on his way.
The biggest, most consequent. Well, I don't want to be too dismissive, but the most heartbreaking one by far is Yuri Nieminen leaving for the Netherlands. Is that right?
Feyenoord. Yeah.
Feyenoord. Actually, kind of, one of the two clubs. Mm-hmm. So, all right. But first things first.
I'm curious to see if the GoPro continues. Then,
Oh, was he GoProing?
He was the GoPro guy, right?
Explain. I don't remember this.
Like behind the, they always set up the GoPro.
Yeah, well, he has his cameras and analytics and everything.
I even tweeted about it once.
I mean, he is. I mean, not to turn this kind of jokey intro into sincerity, but he was like, probably one of the more progressive, technically advanced goalkeeper coaches out there. It's just something that happens at a club, at a theoretically big club. It's just that now we're in a situation where we kind of don't have any coaches. We kind of just let the coaching team walk a few months ago on their own terms when they were technically being fired. And then we're in the middle of a season without a full bench staff.
Hey, we got Troy and Zach now. So
yeah, I mean, I think they need help. I think
Troy's one yellow card from suspension.
I don't think. Yeah, there's something uneasy about the club selling tickets and inviting people to come out to games while that kind of stuff is going on. But let's not get too down too early.
We've got Troy, we've got Zach, we've got Jamai, we've got Bryden, we've got Bryce, we've got Kyler, we've got the whole crew here. One of those names is probably an actual. Gronk. Yeah. Jerry Niemanen has been rizzed up
by fine
by All Halal. You know who got rizzed up by? I don't know what the clubs are. It doesn't matter. By the UAE is Kaku. That's a name some older Red Bulls fans might remember.
They don't have room for him now that they are that.
Unfortunately, no solidarity payments for us.
It would be funny if we did get one.
It would be funny.
Yeah, and then we just we kept it just hanging around like Ricky Henderson forgetting to cash his one. I guess he didn't forget. He chose not to cash his $1 million check signing bonus. That would be choice. But okay, to drag us back a little bit, 2-1 against Columbus. What's the read on this game?
What goes on
here? Oh fuck! I forgot about my actual lead into this episode. Maybe we'll get back. Maybe we'll get back to that. No, we don't. We don't. 2-1 against Columbus. If it comes up, it comes up. It's fine. What goes on here? Apparently, there's an arch in Columbus. I didn't know that. That was the little.
I'm guessing that is like an Ohio State cistern thing or something. I don't know.
There was a the Super Size Me 2. They had mentioned that Columbus is like the testing market for all the fast food chains in the U.S.
Interesting.
Oh, nice.
I went to a Raising Cane's there last time I was in Columbus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, apparently they do. That's the test market. That's the most American fast food city in the country.
Wow. Does that mean they're the most elite burger eaters, or they're the most mid burger eaters?
I think they're the most
gullible burger eaters.
Have you been to the Raising Cane's in New York yet?
No, I went there. I went the other night. I just rolled up to Times Square because I live a few train stops away, and there's literally a line around the block. And this wasn't even opening day. This was like 3 or 4 days in.
Jesus.
So what's the big chicken battle now? It's like Popeyes, Chick-fil-A, Raising Cane's. You got Sticky's as a local joint now.
Sticky's is throwing its weight around.
Yeah, Dave's Hot is moving into town.
I did finally try Dave's Hot the other day. You've been bigging it up.
I didn't even realize it's right by the courthouse.
Yeah.
Until last week.
It's dangerous. Thankfully, they take forever, so that's a good check against my impulses.
That's what I was going to say. That kind of cuts it out for me.
I do remember seeing a clip of when they opened an In-N-Out in Dallas that they interviewed some California transplant who burst into tears during the interview, which I imagine is what's going to happen whenever you are standing in line at Cane's.
Not at Cane's, but for Bojangles, yes.
Okay. This is me when they finally fired Delaware North at Red Bull Arena.
And bring it. Who would you want to bring in?
I don't know. Whoever does City Field, or come on.
Los Tacos Numero Uno.
Yeah,
would go pretty hard.
That would go pretty hard. I don't know if the ticket system would work at RBA, but
fuck it. Let's try. Just let them run it. Let's see what's going on.
I was saying they should have like White Manna Burger. Get some New Jersey in there. Maybe like woke Hiram's.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Maybe even non-woke Hiram's. I don't know.
Just regular Hiram's.
Yeah.
Non-woke Hiram's dominates the Yankee Stadium vendor situation.
Yeah. I heard that that the Mets were going to win 30 more games this year, but Steve Cohen,
there's an Astros guy at the Diamondbacks Mets game.
Oh hell yeah, that's me.
Yeah. That's gonna be me at the Astros Yankees game later this year in Diamondbacks gear.
I'll go ahead and abandon that bit. It wasn't going anywhere. We played Columbus. We lost against Columbus. We could have drawn. We had a chance to draw. We had a penalty awarded. It was 2-1. The lineup. Well, how was the lineup? The lineup was sort of consistent with what we've seen. We got the back four pretty consistent, considering that Tolkien is out at the Gold Cup. Gold Cup, what goes on there?
Yeah.
Are they winning? I don't know.
Who's winning? Is Qatar winning? I don't know.
I think they did.
I think they are winning.
Didn't
They beat Mexico.
They destroyed
the other night,
Mexico,
right?
yeah.
Sick.
But,
Is
but
it? No, it's not sick. I take that back. Back four of Nealis, Reyes, Anchor, Duncan, moonlighting on the left side because, as everyone knows, and this is a before Struber gripe, we don't sign more than one left back. It can't be done. It's impossible. With Harper on the right, Edelman and Amaya anchoring the midfield, Luquinhas starting again, and then Omir supporting both Elias Manuel and Tom Barlow. This is another fearsome Barlow-Manuel strike partnership, which did yield us results against Atlanta. I mean, did they also start against Charlotte in our 4-point week? I know that they started against Atlanta in the 3-0 blowout. But what to think of this formation, this personnel? We don't have Drew Yearwood starting. He comes in as a sub later on, but
no Van Zier starting either.
Yeah, Van Zier low-key hasn't started in a while.
He played
right?
that game?
He
played for like 15 minutes.
Well, I mean, that was more of a joke that, he didn't really contribute anything to that game.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know if it's even early anymore to say that that's kind of not working out.
Or is it like, has the decision been made that he's just a role player?
Yeah. I mean, even Klimala, it took we disagreed with the idea that he was underperforming, but even then it still took like a year or so for him to start getting, sub minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the extracurriculars obviously didn't help, but it also just based on what we've seen of how he plays, it does, I'm comfortable saying that he looks like a promising, role player contributor potentially, but as we've said on previous episodes, being sort of the guy doesn't seem in the cards here. And you would think that one of these last 3 games, he may have started against Charlotte. I'll double check now. You would think that there'd be more opportunity for him to properly start in that stretch.
And it's just not happening.
Yeah.
I remember, what was it the other game? We were watching warm-ups and he started doing a few techers, a little bit of the freestyle stuff when he was doing some keepy uppies, and I was like, oh, this is very expensive Daniel Royer we got.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't start against Charlotte either. So sort of odd pattern here. I mean,
there's no news that he's not fit, right? So
yeah, I don't
know.
I
mean, and then the suspension layoff and transfer layoff is not really in the rearview mirror anymore. I mean, it's just he's apparently not a first choice starter.
Had a full international break to get acclimated to the group.
I mean, I don't know what more you can even say, but I mean, and this isn't even including our our technical assessment of him that we just when we actually have watched him play, we don't think he's that impressive. This is just basically clearly discretionary coaching decisions that he's just not a starter over. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Barlow and Manuel, not exactly world beaters.
No.
So just, pretty odd. Yeah. I mean, you have to, maybe there's still runway for him to, turn, his stint here around, but I mean, you got to start considering that a major, bust. I mean, to be quite honest at this point, considering the way it was framed and the way, it was going to be the centerpiece of what this whole season was going to be. I mean, it's an understatement to say it's a disappointment.
Yeah, which is it always is baffling to us. I think we've said this explicitly before on the show, but we've been sort of handcuffed or caught wrong-footed by this whole Van Zier thing. How, in general, over the history of this show, I think it's fair to say that we've kind of wanted people to be more optimistic or proud of the club in general. And then, so it's caught us very weird that people were so bullish on Dante Van Zier all of a sudden when we weren't.
Yeah.
So it's like, I didn't exactly want to stamp down people's enthusiasm, but it has been a little bit bizarre. And, obviously there was the racism incident, which did get a pretty uniform rejection, thankfully, from the fan base and eventually the club in some sort of way. But now, the performance is weird. And also Corey Burke, presumably, is our one of our most promising attacking players, promising players on the year. And he's out at the Gold Cup as well. So you'd have to think that Van Zier is behind him too, as well. It's odd. You'd also think that Dog Days of Summer would be a time to at least get a guy to get some reps. It's always a funny situation when you sign a player like this and you don't even get to see him fail, Right. That's kind of my least favorite signing, going back to when I was watching Arsenal more intensely. There was that one window where Arsenal panic bought 6 guys in the last 48 hours. I can't even remember his first name because he literally only played twice for Arsenal. His last name was Park. He was a Korean striker who came over from Monaco.
Young Park?
I can't even say. He scored once in a League Cup game against Bolton that was a tidy goal, but other than that, he was given the number 9 shirt. Mm-hmm. And just never made the squad for 2 years. And it was baffling because it's presumably this guy isn't good. But also, I don't know. I've never been allowed to see him. So, it's always weird. And we've had some Red Bulls versions of that, I guess. Jason Pendant, we did see a bit of him struggle.
Yeah.
Egbo's the better example, Where it's we've never really seen him struggle. I don't know why he's so persona non grata. I'm a little bit less pressed about this one, I guess, than I am with Egbo. But, yeah.
Gideon Ba.
Ba did get hurt at least, and then he kind of just never got his way back into a still pretty competent squad. Those were heady 2 weeks though when he looked like a good player.
We've had a lot of those players the last few years under Struber. It's the genesis of my joke of here's a player some of the older Red Bulls fans might remember. We had tons of signings who were just the hottest shit, all hyped up and everything, and then within a few months they were just being benched every week. It's just what is even going on here?
It is interesting that Frankie Amaya starts alongside Daniel Ottoman here, because I think I already said I didn't catch this game. I don't know. Do you guys have any impression of what that pairing was like? Drew didn't start, but did that seem to work okay? Is there any indication, or do you have any preference for whether Frankie is further up the field or not?
I guess just, most broadly way of speaking possible. I could see, and this is kind of in part and parcel of the last few weeks in general, that I'm seeing more enthusiastic and collective pressing than I've seen in a long time. Which, is within the rubric of the way this team is set up to play, is nice to see. I think that is, maybe colors some of the personnel decisions we just got done talking about. That I think in a vacuum, again, that's a good thing. That's the way you are supposed to set a team up, that it's, if you're going to play that way, you got to put the right personnel in to do that. And I think as opposed to what we were seeing under Struber, where it felt like we were players were being punished and players were constantly being, set up to compete against each other, and that, one player was grounded one week and then up the next, and there was never any continuity. Whereas now I think, we're starting to see the same formation week to week. We're starting to see some of the same players picked every week, even if it's maybe, and maybe in the case of Drew Yearwood, we would like to see him starting. But when you're seeing proof in the pudding, when you're seeing the team just look generally more cohesive with these same players being selected week after week, you're getting more cohesive performances. And I think, this season being kind of discarded already in the big picture, I think that's kind of the best you can hope for as far as the way the team is being set up the rest of the year. Incredibly low bar, but one that's being met, I think, even in the losses.
So maybe just like a clarifying question, at this point, are we just kind of like embracing, like a 4-4-2 or 4-2-2-2?
It kind of seems that way.
Yeah.
If only because there's just not the personnel to do 3 in the back at this point.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that one thing that might be helpful, maybe just for me or anybody, just like to really just kind of examine we'll talk about CCJ in a little bit, but, we've got 4 midfielders, we had 2 on the field in Edelman and Amaya. We've already talked about Yearwood, and then we have Stroud as well. I mean, just like, wondering kind of what their strengths are, and then ultimately kind of who would play in that more like de facto defensive role. And it seems like it might be Edelman at this point.
Well, actually, I was going to say, like, during this last game, I thought that Amaya was a more defensive midfielder. Edelman seemed to be the more aggressive, like, push forward and kind of play guys, or, like, dribble up and kind of play those offensive balls a little bit more. Maybe Amaya is kind of, like, actually that defensive midfielder from at least what I saw in that last game.
I wonder if that's something that, like, his skill set, lines up with. I remember, like, when he came over from Cincinnati, I thought one of his comments was that he didn't prefer to play as deep as Cincinnati kind of confined him to, like in whatever role he was assigned there. Makes me believe that he would want to play a little more forward or wouldn't be that kind of like more defensive midfielder in the duo.
Yeah, and from like what I was seeing, like, obviously the way our defensive midfielders work, I think, are a little different than maybe a more possession-based team or, kind of like a team that will hold the ball or play differently. I think in terms of Amaya's usage here, it's a little bit more of a disruptive kind of like get into the ball. I mean, it is like a traditionally like defensive midfielder. He doesn't sit as far back, I guess, but he's more like playing in the lanes and getting those interceptions.
Not to be unflattering, but lowest center of gravity on the team and just generally, mobile over short distances compared to other people or other players. So I think that colors it as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did play well in that role last year. Was arguably the player of the season. Especially in the middle portion of the season. But yeah, I think it's a good question because I do think that the current midfield core that this team has right now is solid, and I think has the potential to be like certainly an above average, if not pretty good midfield in MLS. Like I think between Edelman, Amaya, Yearwood, and Stroud. That's a pretty good crop of guys. Arguably, it's missing sort of an attacking.
They're all kind of
midfielder.
eights.
Yeah. But I think
Edelman, like we kind of touched on a second ago, is more able to sit deep and kind of stationary than the others, but they're all kind of like mobile and two-way players, and that kind of affects kind of character of each player and then the roles that they get organized into. I mean, it's kind of our bugaboo with CCJ long term, which was just like it was never clear what his character on the field was supposed to be.
And yeah, I think this is a good occasion to fully crack open the topic on that. So like if just catching up CCJ is rumored to be going to Toulouse for a $1 million fee, and his contract is out at the end of the season. So for me, that this makes sense. It's sort of a funny move in that it plausibly could make us worse in the short term, but still makes sense to do, and be a good move to make for the medium and long term. As we've talked about on previous episodes, there is kind of this problem with, or problem's harsh, but this paradox with CCJ where he's so versatile that it seems like it tempts every manager to try to put him a little bit everywhere in the midfield and get a little bit out of his play, and might be stunting the midfield from getting a more coherent or specialized sort of roles across them. So I think like having him out of the picture and creating some room for Stroud and Edelman and Amaya and Yearwood, who were both at various points sort of falling out of the squad, could be good and allow the midfield to just kind of feel itself out for the first time in a while, possibly ever, really. That said, I do think it also magnifies, or it has the potential to magnify, the issue that, they're all sort of 8s. There isn't really sort of a 10. Luquinhas is probably more sort of an inverted winger type player rather than like a pure creative force in the center. Now, is the management of the club intentionally self-aware of this? I don't know. I think you'd have reason to doubt that. Maybe they aren't. But I think even if they're not, they're going to be forced to be made aware of the situation when we just have a bunch of 8s on the field and we don't have CCJ occasionally charging forward and scoring a banger that could fool you into thinking we have a creative attacking midfielder when we really didn't. So I think that's something to watch for the year, but also I think it's magnified by the fact that our striking core is so strange right now. We also don't really have a guy up there, like kind of as we were saying with Von Zier. Corey Burke is closest to a conventional number 9 or hold-up guy, but like I think he's still kind of a supporting like veteran player that you'd want on this team rather than being sort of a center of gravity and protagonist of the attack. Manuel and Barlow really feel like supporting strikers. Van Zier feels like, kind of we've been saying, a Daniel Royer type player at best now, which like, hey, if your club can afford or is willing to plop down $5 million on that kind of player, sure. If it's at the expense of something else, I don't know, it doesn't seem as great. But I do think we're still... that's a piece of the puzzle that's missing, that's probably radiating out to the midfield as well, where it's like we've got these 4 complementary like supplementary type attacking forward guys on the roster, so it's unclear who we'd even be wanting to feed among them, who we'd want to even get the ball to. So part of me wonders if like the top of the midfield won't be sort of solved until we can figure out our forwards too.
Yeah, and I was, like when you were saying that list, I feel like to me notably absent was Lewis Morgan, and I wonder if he will return, but maybe he is solely himself that missing piece that like could maybe bring this team into something that makes sense, but that doesn't solve the issue, I think, where we have this kind of like open bucket in the midfield, in the middle, or like out wide, where people play these kind of like long balls off into and covering that space, especially on the left side.
Just in a complete vacuum and just my own personal aesthetic, I hate the 4-2-2-2. It's my least favorite formation, kind of for the reasons that Peach has just laid out, where just there's no, to borrow Brit's term from a second ago, protagonist. There's nobody taking charge in the middle of the field. You have this huge empty space and a bunch of guys freelancing. And unless you have like a bunch of veteran players who have been together for years, it just doesn't really work.
Right. Every time I've seen it work, in some kind of like Bundesliga fashion, it's been like 6 dudes overlapping like one wing or something like that to make it really work. And, if you have that kind of compression, we already know what the weakness there is. We've seen it a bunch of times. But, I don't know that we have the full backs to like really make that work either. It
really compounds what's already been the issue with this team the last few years, where just like nobody really knows who's supposed to take charge in the attack in certain situations, and just having just literally everybody be a freelancer at the top of the formation just compounds that even further.
Yeah, I've been like, back when Struber was coach, I was saying that we're destined to kind of like with this roster maybe like play a 3 in the back, but we don't have enough center backs to do that, honestly, at this point.
Perfect off season.
But yeah, I mean, like it's weird, like, maybe like we saw Ronald Doncourt play, right? And he looks pretty good every time he's been out there, but he seems like a regular ass winger, and I have no idea where someone like that could play in like that, what we're saying, in like these banks of twos.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the 4-2-2-2 is
just a makeshift thing.
Yeah, it's just a reflection of our personnel. I don't know. It is funny. I did sort of forget about Lewis Morgan. If he's fit again, presumably he plays out wide. I don't know. I mean, who's our starting right back too? I feel like Cameron Harper is there because of the knock-on effect of Tolkien being out. It really, in so many ways, this squad just feels like a makeshift thing until we can add a couple pieces. I don't know, like the strength
the squad was pretty explicitly built to save Gerhard Struber's tenure.
Yeah.
And that's just been completely blown up, and there's just no purpose to it anymore. There's no coherence or direction to it. I mean, we're 2 years separated from, we're like a year and a half, 2 years separated from Thelwell leaving the picture, who, was obviously doing the long-term planning prior to that. And now we had Schneider come in and, let's be honest, be the yes man for Struber and do his bidding and fix which parts of the squad he wanted fixed. And now Struber's gone because he was completely wrong about what needed to be fixed. And now we have this completely hodgepodge mess of a squad.
Yeah, I do, because of the relative strength of the midfield and the center backs, I hesitate to call it like a rebuilding that we need. But, and even some like the wide, like Lewis Morgan, great player, great MLS player. Don't think that position needs rebuilt. So I don't know if it's a rebuilding, but like there is certainly some significant work that needs to be done. And I think, Cork, to your point, yeah, it is funny viewing this in the lens of like manager versus like ownership or whatever, because it's like this is a squad that you can see the scars of being shaped in Struber's image. Like who in their right mind would assemble so many forwards, like weird supporting forwards like this, and only have like 8s, I don't know. Like and it's actually insane that we're still doing so much better now that he's gone, even though he left us this weird unbalanced squad. Really damning result for him.
Like
by which our friend Gerhard is endeared himself to the European coaching scene so well that he's now doing car interviews with random Liverpool blogs. So have fun.
To your point, like it's, I don't think it's like a need for total rebuilding. It's just kind of a like, there are clear holes in the roster, like we're talking about. We don't have.
It's insane. I mean,
like no left back.
Especially after Struber was complaining literally all of last year that he supposedly had this just threadbare limited squad while he was not using Pendant, not using Egbo. Now supposedly putting Kyle Duncan on the left for 2 months is just perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, and we lose Caden Clark, we lose Aaron Long, and we have insignificant losses.
We have no center backs to play 3 in the back. Supposedly, it was just a huge crisis that he had to use Dylan Nealis at all last year. Now Dylan Nealis is a starting 3rd center back. Just completely crazy pills nonsense that, the club really should have more of it hung on them. But
to that point, it's also like we know where the gaps we need to fill are. We need a left back. We need like this kind of attacking player, But I'm less
on what Brit just said a minute ago that I don't think the team necessarily needs a rebuild. I don't think the team should have been in a situation where they need a rebuild right now, 2-3 years after starting another one, but them's the breaks. That's where we are now. I don't think this squad is built to really, do a whole lot right now, the way it's settled in.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think we're like, I think we're maybe a couple of pieces away from a team is like where I think it is. And to that point, like, I think, just the amount of trust I've lost in the sporting department, it would be nice to just get like a real sick signing. I'm saying like Jochen Schneider, if you sign me Aiden Hazard or Son Heung-min, like, I think I'll be happy.
Well, I mean, let's be real. He hasn't been very good at getting signings done.
No, yeah, no, I know that's the thing.
It's been a year and a half. I mean,
we're in the transfer window.
There's no rumors. We're short a center back. We heard, some little smidgens of center back rumors a few months ago, and they apparently didn't get it done. So what's even the point here? I mean, is there anybody home? I wonder sometimes.
Yeah.
The current sporting executive was explicitly brought in as Struber's friend and, a guy who he would be able to work better with and who was going to get the squad to his room temperature. And now that that's been discarded, what's even going on anymore at this club? What's the plan at this club? They're not even going to do a search for a new manager, apparently.
Just based on the fact that we've hired Zach Prince.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see.
Moulin Schneider himself explicitly said, Lassane's not the interim. We're not going to do a search.
He has him for the year, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't seem really like the vibe is that they're about to do a whole nother search. It's a weird situation. That said, I mean, I guess, I don't know. It does feel like some of the 2 goals we gave up this weekend do seem to be sort of coming from the left side. The second one is a solid strike, off the volley, but both of them seem to be from Columbus overloading the left side, where we have a right back who is less defensively sound when he's playing on the right side, but particularly so on the left side, in Kyle Duncan getting beat in different ways. Part of me does wonder if having an actual left back helps there. That said, we do claw a goal back, and we have an opportunity to tie the game, and we miss a penalty, which, I don't know. I don't think it's really... It's at some
penalties
point...
are always crapshoots.
Yeah, it's not a great penalty, but I don't think, especially given the stakes that we've sort of lined out here about, like, just the weird sort of house money vibe and situation this season, probably not worth someone's effort to really cry over that spilled milk.
I also thought there was enough play in there in between to have amounted to a goal at some point too. That just never came,
Yeah. Also, Columbus is a pretty sharp team.
That's true.
Nancy's the real deal. It looks like.
Yeah. They were playing like real. They were cutting us.
I mean even earlier this year when we beat them, they were maybe the best team at what we were kind of noticing earlier in the year at just finding a way to pass a little quicker get around the press, and they've only advanced at that. Like I said at the top of the episode, I thought New York had a really ferocious press in this game, and they were still finding ways around it pretty thrillingly. So.
Honestly, maybe a little bit of a makeup result from how we stole kind of
a little bit. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So that said, we've gotten pretty damning, and I think rightfully so. But the result itself.
We got off on big picture kind of stuff, but I mean, this isolated result, not the end of the world on the road against a decent team. And
I mean, last week we signed off by wondering, like, is this even a game that we expect a point from? It was sort of throwing us off in terms of expectation. I think our center of gravity kind of fell on, like, expecting or wanting at least 1 point. It does hurt to be one kick of the ball away from that. But this is certainly not a team getting rinsed completely. You know, I think it was at least back and forth. So
it was a respectable game to be played. Honestly, more respectable than the one we had against them. So Columbus were cutting us up when they played us at home. They were cutting us up here. But, I thought we had a better showing. Especially, again, we had another I thought coming back from the second half, a little bit of a performance boost from the team. So it's nice to see that we don't just immediately go limp after getting or conceding a goal or something like that.
And as we've said a few times since the managerial change, opening ourselves up to a little bit more risk is something that, I'm willing to take if it means that we're more dynamic and capable of scoring more, and I'm also just less bored watching the games. So, yeah, not the end of the world there. And this result does not change my overall assessment that like a lower playoff spot seems totally feasible, if not, likely, and that a mid-tier playoff spot seems still absolutely in play. As we recapped a bit last week, Columbus had a bit of a streaky form of losing a lot of games, but for a second was winning a bunch of games in a row too. They're now in 4th place, so are comfortably in the middle class of MLS clubs. But we have another opponent this week that has a chance to be a good test. We're playing New England. Is this the first time we're playing New England this year?
It might be, actually. They're doing really well.
Yeah, for a second they were struggling to start the year, but they're back up to 3rd now. Good old Bruce. They have 37 points on the year, 10 wins.
We just had to get rid of Josie.
Yeah, I forgot he was there. Honestly, at this point, fuck it.
Let's sign Josie.
Let's
bring him home. Bring the boy home.
Yeah, bring him home. Let's see what we can mix up there. But New England's in 3rd. I'll just briefly dig up the old gripe that is a bit odd that we've played at least 3 teams twice now before we've played New England once. Like a little bit out of whack. I don't know. Like I'm thinking off the top of my head, Montreal, Columbus, and Charlotte. In Atlanta, we've played all of those guys twice already. Not good. Doesn't really matter, but whatever. New England at home. I think, one thing I'm happy to say is that I am back at a place now where I expect the team to do well at home, at least, even if it's irrational. I don't think it's irrational this weekend to get a result at New England, but like, even if it were, like if Seattle were coming in or like Cincinnati were coming in, who are like top of the table teams right now, and maybe I should be a little bit more intimidated. I'm still back in the mindset where I'm like, teams motivated at home, seem to be enjoying play together. Fuck it, let's get a result. So I certainly feel that way about New England. New England, the last 5 has drawn 2 and won 3. One of those draws, the most recent one, was against Cincinnati, who are at the top of the Eastern table by quite some distance. So they've been doing well.
I'm going off gambler's fallacy. They're due for a loss.
Oh, New England? And by that token, how are we going to fare?
Oh, so like if they're going to lose, that means we're going to win, right?
but what's our gambler's fallacy? What's our roulette board say?
I mean, I think we're winning is red, and them winning is green. So,
okay.
We've
got like a 45% chance or something is what I'm hearing.
Right.
All right. Yeah, our form in the last 5 is now 2 losses, 2 wins, and a draw. And it's kind of interesting looking at it that way because our 2 losses are Columbus, which, as we just said, not the end of the world. On balance, probably a deserved loss, but an open game. The Orlando game, which, as we articulated at that episode, was sort of a bit of a free fall of trying to just go for it a lot. It's not real. 3-0 is a harsh scoreline because we just kind of went for it. And then the Atlanta game, probably the win of the season, and then a professional 1-0 win away at Miami. Miami's not great, but we got the job done. So, dare I say, like the form in the last 5 is still pretty decent, even with there being 2 losses in there. I think I do.
We've been real good about losing the house money games, which is good.
Yeah, and I'll indulge your gambler's fallacy a bit and say that, yeah, maybe it is a makeup loss for that game against Columbus that we had no right to win, a zone win. The zone is correcting itself. I'll believe, the
nature's healing. The zone is
permanent faith in the zone. But yeah, and obviously we're all going to be attending to get rizzed up by Mr. Star-Lord bobblehead himself, who needs no introduction.
Is there really another Marvel night?
I don't know. Is that Marvel?
Everything is a Disney night now, everywhere in America.
When is going to be frickin' Barbie night? Sorry, Sam.
I was going to say my recovery has been leading up to this game because of the theme night. So yeah.
Oh, I see.
Big.
You were here for the bobblehead, nothing else.
Oh yeah. We had to delay your injury. We had to put you on day-to-day for this week, but so you'll be back on Saturday?
I will be. That's the plan.
Fuck yeah. All right, get in.
Well,
season's back on.
Yeah.
I was saying to the boys that, the weather forecast kind of ruined our July 4th cookout plan, so maybe I'll go early to the parking lot. Maybe we can grill a little bit.
I will grill as long as we grill outside of the mass transit station, not the parking lot.
I don't think we're allowed to grill there.
I know, we'll probably get arrested. And
in front of the Unis or
in America,
or the
all you have to do is say that you want to eat a burger, and they'll arrest you. They'll arrest you just for eating burger outside the train. It's a disgrace.
Just outside of the bike parking.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck, I was gonna say something else, but who knows? Any other thoughts for this New England game? I guess.
Is there anyone on this team that we're remembering on New England? Yeah, is there a remembering guy on?
I mean, Andrew Farrell's got to still be.
Oh, is he still
central to the thing?
Let's see.
He should. Andrew Farrell should have his number retired at New England.
Wait.
Yeah, he's right there.
Wait, Heel and Bo were still there? I thought one of them left.
Nah.
Am I insane? Who left?
Heel got snubbed for the All-Star game, which is kind of wild. But
for JMI?
Was there another big player for New England that did leave? I could have sworn one of their
Buchanan.
I thought it was
and
one
Matt
of their
Turner.
I thought it was one of their Spanish-speaking. I thought it was one of Bo or Heel who left.
Buchanan and Turner, I think, have been their only big sales. Lateef Blessing is on them now. Bobby Wood is on them now.
Bobby Wood?
Dave Romney is on them now.
Ima Boateng. Bruce has his voice.
Bruce is just remembering MLS guys. What a fucking hero.
And I love when Bruce said it's Brucin time and started Brucin.
Matt.
I already knew Emma Boateng was on them, but yeah.
This is a real remembering guys team. I'm glad I brought it up. Boateng.
Ben Sweat.
Ooh.
Is he really?
Yes, he's a reserve. Omar Gonzalez is still a reserve on them too. But Bruce, the madman,
never change, and you never will.
They've got a guy with the last name Halsey, 24-year-old named Halsey. He lives in a giant loft apartment with 8 other people in a polycule. That's a little New York City street geography joke for you guys out there. If you don't know, now you know. Halsey Street, where you might find that sort of thing. And our newest panelist on the show, I'm very excited to, in the coming weeks, welcome Bill de Blasio onto the show. Bill, brother, it's gonna get better. We got surprisingly raucous response to the briefest anecdotes about dating, and Bill's really gonna bring that energy to the show. I think
his anecdotes will definitely be better than yours. I think.
Yeah, obviously, of course they will.
That's funny.
Was gonna be my opening bit, but. What's funny?
I was just at Halsey taking a guitar lesson, so that scans.
That was fucking you I was talking about.
Yeah.
You're the left back. You're Brett Halsey. You're right back. You're 24 years old. And
he's actually Brazilian. He was named after famed Diamondbacks and Yankees pitcher Brad Halsey. His parents, just started calling him that when he was younger, and it just stuck. So.
I fucked up. That guy plays for Cincinnati. I'm sorry. I'm gonna learn and do better, you guys.
You're gonna educate yourself.
Omar Gonzalez. How could I forget? And he's a keeper too. This feels perfect, but
I thought you were saying Omar Gonzalez.
A guy named Earl Edwards Jr.
Oh yeah, you don't know about Earl?
I don't know Earl.
My name is Earl. If I was Chris Berman calling MLS, I would call him. My name is Earl Edwards Jr. But no, he's been a backup like around the league for a while. Never really gotten a starter job. He was one of those guys. He was a starter for the U20s in a World Cup back in the day, and then never actually panned out as a pro. Like most U20 goalkeepers.
Carl Edwards Jr. is the MLB journeyman outfielder, I think.
Yes, and then Carl Edwards, just regular, was the NASCAR guy.
I was gonna say, right.
Oh, senior.
That's a
Carl Edwards. Yeah. Carl Edwards regular is white, and Carl Edwards Jr. is black. So I don't know, maybe, but
yeah.
Carl Edwards III obviously is Asian.
Powerful combo. I will say. Sorry, but okay. I was on a date, and I eventually mentioned my sick, disgusting compulsion that is talking about the New York Red Bulls weekly with my friends, and she asked what team I follow. I said which one. She's like, "Oh, do you know Alex Muil?" Which is all to say, the streets have never forgotten Alex. Yeah. You're still out there. Apparently, she went to school with his sister or something, but
she filmed the Soulja Boy dance video.
We talked about this video. I got to be like, well, actually, I knew about this video before Timothée Chalamet was known to be in it. It was very endearing, but the streets have not forgotten. This makes 2 interactions we've had in the wild with people who asked us about Alex Muil. We also had someone ask us at a bar once if we knew him.
I'm kind of anti-Wheel now. I've decided he's our Mason Mount.
I don't know. All right. I don't know. I'm not going to go that far. Is Mason Mount persona non grata with Chelsea?
He just went to Manchester United.
So. Yeah, but I thought everybody wanted to get rid of him. I thought everybody at Chelsea hated him.
I mean, they did, but,
They only have like 44 players now.
They actually sold like 10 of them to Saudi, so.
Sweet. Well, anything else?
Doesn't
sound like it. Okay, well, till then, when we talk about Cincinnati and Salt Lake next week.
Leagues Cup coming up. Fuck. Leagues Cup.
Oh, yeah, the real trophy.
All right.
It's Alex!
Boom, 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 boom.